So in this one, we're going to learn how to type the following. Int, bracket, bracket. We're going to work with an array of arrays. So you can type the data type and then bracket, set of brackets followed by another set of brackets. Give it a name and then type your curly braces and then terminate those with a semicolon. And then within those, type the following. Here you can declare and set variables. Like for example, new int, that's an array. By set, what it means is you can initialize it with some values. You see, so you can type new int, and then you can type 1, comma 2. Let's make it say 3, comma 7, like that. So this is declaring and then initializing a new array. That's part of the array named R. Once you've done that, then you can put a comma, and you can punch down the line, and you can initialize another array. So new int, again, brackets. Oops, initialize it, let's say like this, punch down the line, and then punch in some inches like 5, 6, and then terminate with a matching curly brace this way. So we have an array named R, which stores 2 other arrays. Now the question is, how can we iterate through the array named R, and then how can we iterate through each array inside the array named R? Well, we can use a for each kind of object construction that looks like the following. It's a looping construct. So for each, and then you can type, now let's think about this. The for each is going to iterate through the array entries of R, not of the inner arrays for now. So what I mean is you're going to type something like var. Now, what is var? Var is just a keyword that basically forces the C# there to recognize the data type automatically. You don't have to think about what it is. It's going to be for each var A and R. Now put your mouse over var and you can see it says int with brackets. That means it's an array of integers. That's what the A stands for. That means, in other words, first A will stand for the first array and then A will stand for the second array. In other words, A is an array variable. So for that reason, you can use the standard for loop construct to iterate with the entries that A will store. So it's going to be this, in other words. For, and then int I is equal to 0. So why am I typing here 0? Because like for the first array, the 3 is at index 0 and the 7 is at index 2. This inner array right here, on the line of the cursor there, that's just a length 2 array. So you can type something like, for example, a.length, correct, to get the length of this object. And then you can type I is less than a.length, not equal to, remember. I've talked about that in previous videos on this channel. And then I plus plus, because we want to step from index 0 where the 3 is to index 1 where the 7 is. And then we want to print the 3, 7 to the screen, but let's say we want to do it on a horizontal line. So I will say console.write, and then use array access notation. So a set of brackets, I, and then terminate with a semicolon. Okay, let's leave the code in this form, and let's see what happens when we run this. Okay, so go over to start without debugging, Control F5 as a key combo. All right, well, let's see. This prints something to the screen, right? It prints 3756. They're both pressed together, though, and they're all on the same line, and the numbers are kind of pressed together, smushed together, super close. So let me close this. And we can make an improvement maybe if we want to space the entries. Where it says A with the brackets I, just concatenate a string, an empty string like this. So between double quotes, just put that there. And then run this. So debug, start without debugging, Control F5. Now it says 3756. Well, the entries are spaced apart at least. Nevertheless, we would like the 5 and the 6 to still be printed on the next line. So now, do this. We need a console.writeLine call somewhere. So put it, say here, console.writeLine, because remember, the mouse over writeLine, it says, writes the current line terminator to the standard output stream. So in other words, it places the cursor on the next line so that you can basically print again from left to right, like an old-fashioned typewriter. Okay. Well, you see, it kind of works because it puts press any key to continue on the next line, not on the same line as the 3756. But that's not really what we want, right? Because we want the 5-6 to be on their own line. So terminate this. In other words, likely we need a set of curly braces to organize the execution of the code better. So do this, and now take this code in here, and then Control X, and then Control V into the curly braces. So it looks like this. Again, leave it at first. We're just experimenting. It's a good way to learn. Just try different things. Start without debugging. You see, it still doesn't work. So in other words, as you know by now, every symbol has to be just So in terms of position. So put console.writeLine this way inside the scope defined by the curly braces with the ForEach. Like that. So let's see what happens here. So debug, start with that debugging. All right, now the 3.7 gets printed on its own line. And then the 5.6 gets printed on its own line, and the press any key to continue gets printed on its own line. That's likely what you want to keep things organized. So shut this down. Please leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.